everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with y'all some of the books that I've read recently. But before I get into that, this is a reminder that down below in the description, there will be links to resources of what you can do to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and there will also be links to resources of things I think might be important for you to check out. So the first book I'm going to be talking about today is A Taste of Sage by Yafa S. Santos. In this book, we follow our main character Lumi, who is a chef and has a kind of rivalry going on with another chef. But because Lumi's restaurant doesn't do so well, she's forced to work for this other chef, and it's about the romance that develops between the two of them. I rated this book 2.5 stars. I really wanted to love it, but it just didn't happen. The main issue I had with this book is that it felt like it still needed a few more rounds of revisions. It did not feel like it had been taken to the level it could have been. One of the things that made this obvious to me is the fact that there's a magical realism element in this book. Our main character Lumi, when she tastes other people's food, can feel the emotions the person who prepared that food was feeling while they were making it. And this element came in pretty late in the story and was used inconsistently, so it felt kind of strange. I'm all for magical realism. I'm all for stuff a la como agua para chocolate, but this just didn't quite work. The other part where it was clear that the writing could have been better was with certain chapters. Certain chapters felt like they were completely unnecessary. Like, honestly, they felt like they were there so that one character could inspire the main characters to have an idea, and then we wouldn't even find out what the idea was until later in the story. So it was weird. It was strange. I don't know. I felt like the side characters were just that props that were used weirdly in chapters, so I was left feeling about that. The other thing was the romance. Lumi and Julian were just kind of for me. I had moments where I really liked their romance and I was really enjoying their interactions, and then suddenly they were making a jump in their relationship and things were moving really quickly, and it was strange. Like, literally sometimes in one conversation it could go from them being lovey-dovey to them having this argument that literally felt like it was coming out of nowhere, or the opposite where they're having a normal conversation and suddenly it's like, I love you, I want to be with you forever, and I'm like, what is happening here? So it was bizarre, because again, I had moments that I really was invested in their relationship and I was like, yeah, this could be a really cute romance, and there were other moments where I was just like, nah. So yeah, I'm sad because I really did want to love this book, and honestly, when I started it, for about 20 to 30% of it, I was really into it because I had seen other negative reviews and I was like, maybe it's not bad, honestly, maybe it'll probably work for me. And when I started it and I was enjoying it, I was like, yeah, those people didn't know what they were talking about, whatever. But then as the story progressed, I was kind of like, yeah, this needed something more. Regardless, I'm still totally going to check out whatever this author comes out with next, because I'm pretty sure she's Dominican. I want to support other Latinx, Latine authors, so we'll definitely keep an eye out for what else she publishes, because it's the debut novels, so it's to be expected for it to not be perfect, and that's fine. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. In this book, we mainly follow three characters. One of them is the sister of a boy who was murdered under suspicious circumstances, and the other two characters are the best friend of this boy who was murdered. It follows them as they try to keep the memory of Steph alive, because Steph was really into music and he really wanted to make something of himself following his love for music. So they try to make that happen for him now that he's no longer alive. So I rated this book 5 stars. It was fucking amazing. I loved it with my entire being. It was so good. Honestly, all our characters were so well developed. They were so interesting. There was so much character growth. At first, with our female main character, I was frustrated because I was seeing a lot of girl hate, but there was this scene where basically another group of girls is like, you're criticizing us. Don't you see how that reflects on you and who you are as a person? And I was like, beautiful, amazing, iconic. we love to see it. The same thing happened with another of the characters that we're following. He was basically a pretty shitty boyfriend. Nothing abusive or anything of that kind. He was just not a good boyfriend. And the way he drinks some respect women juice, we love it. We love it here. The character growth was the best shit ever. The other thing I loved about this book was that passion for music, for hip hop, for rap, for all these different artists. It was honestly so great. I have no way to say if it's realistic what happens in this book with them trying to get a label to sign Steph, but I'm telling you that I really enjoyed following this story regardless, because the book gives you the opportunity to understand why all of them are doing this for Steph and their different approaches to making it happen. Honestly, just so I cannot describe it. It's just great. It's really, really great. So I would definitely recommend picking up this book. Like, seriously do it. Of course, it's a very serious topic because, again, we have a black teenage boy who's murdered. So yeah, it's a very, very serious and heavy book, but it also has, at least I think, it also has so much joy. And that's why I loved it, because it was so complex. It had so much going for it. The next book I'm going to be talking about is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Nikolai duology. And in this book, we're basically following the aftermath of the events of the Grisha trilogy and some of the events that happened in the Six of Crows duology. So the main premise of the novel is that Nikolai is trying to keep his kingdom together. It has been kind of ravaged after the events of the Grisha trilogy. So he's trying to get it to become strong again. He's trying to keep his country together to make sure that it thrives and succeeds. But the problem is that he has a monster living inside of him that's making it a bit difficult to be an effective king. So that's part of the story, and other shit happens. So okay, I'm pretty sure I changed my rating of this to a 2.5 stars because I was rereading this with Anna from Books and BS and I DNF'd it. I could not finish it. I read it last year and I gave it 3.5 stars. I had my issues with it, but ultimately I had a good time reading it, so I was like, you know what, it's fine. It's a 3.5 star book. But rereading it a year later, I was not able to push through it. I found it so dense, so boring to get through. It was truly a struggle. It was really, really a struggle. And I think there were a lot of choices that were made in the storytelling of this book that did not work and that did not make sense to me. One of the primary things is that this book is pitched, as I just pitched it, as a Nikolai book, but it's really not. I many times, even last year when I first read it, found myself thinking there's not nearly enough Nikolai in this book for this to be the Nikolai duology. Like, where is my man? Because he's not really here. And that's because this book has the perspective of Zoya and Nina and occasionally other perspectives. And quite honestly, Nina's perspective did not need to be in this book whatsoever. Period. It did not have to be here. Like, I understand that if in the second book she plays a more important role, it kind of makes sense to have like the context of what's going on for her. But truly, Leigh Bardugo didn't try to connect what was going on with Nina to what was going on with King Nikolai. And to me, that's just poor storytelling, okay? I'm sorry. It's poor storytelling because it's like, why are you going to interrupt this narrative to give me this other narrative that I'm like, what does this have to do with anything that's going on right now? So it was bizarre. Frankly, I don't think that any of those portions were written badly. I think Nina's story could have gladly and easily been a novella. I think Nina's portion would have thrived as a novella, but having it inside King of Scars was just a bizarre decision to make. When it comes to Zoya's perspective, I did not mind so much, especially because Zoya is spending a lot of time with Nikolai. So having Zoya's perspective wasn't a negative thing. And actually, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book was the relationship between Zoya and Nikolai. I think they are fucking great. I love the dialogue between them. I love the banter. Truly, Leigh Bardugo really thrives and really succeeds at writing dialogue. So that was one of the things that I really loved about this book. But with a reread, it was a struggle because it takes so much time for anything to happen and for you to feel like there's any reason for you to be reading this this book. Like, I did not feel like Leigh Bardugo was giving me a reason to be invested in this story. So that's what made it such a frustrating read. Anyway, that's kind of the general gist of what I felt while rereading King of Scars. I honestly got to the point where I'm not even sure if I'm gonna read the sequel. What's it called? Wolves something. I can't remember the name. Picture will go up here of what it's called because I can't remember. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna read it. I might pick it up as an audiobook because if I struggled so hard with this book reading it as an ebook, I think the easiest option will be to pick it up as an audiobook. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but may or may not happen. So the last book I'm going to be talking about is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. In this book, we follow our main character, Danny, who goes to the Medio School for Girls. In the school, young women are trained to be two different kinds of wives. They are either the wife who supports her husband in business and making life decisions in social spaces, and there is the wife who is more of the home. She takes care of the home, she takes care of children, she makes sure that the home is a welcoming place and that is well taken care of, etc. And so she is assigned to be the wife of the son of this very powerful figure in Medio, and coincidentally, Carmen, who was kind of her rival in the school, is also assigned to be this young man's wife. So in the story, we're basically following Danny as she joins the revolution that is fighting against the people in power in Medio, because the people in power are hoarding wealth, are hoarding resources. So there's many people beyond the wall who are poor, who are struggling, and who are fighting back and saying, we can't live this way anymore. We cannot allow you to keep hoarding your wealth when we're suffering. And so we follow Danny as she joins this revolution, kind of in a blackmail form, but eventually she figures out that she actually does want to be part of this revolution. And it's also a romance between Danny and Carmen. It's their awesome sapphic rivals to lovers, and we love it. We love it here. I rated this book 4 stars. It was so fucking good. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. The main thing I loved about it was Danny and Carmen's romance. I thought it was so well done. I thought it was so well developed. I loved how fucking soft they were with one another. I love how tentatively they got together and started trusting each other. It was so cute. Honestly, it got right to my heart in a way that I've been waiting for a sapphic romance to do, because honestly, I struggle so hard with sapphic romances to get invested in their love story, even though I'm gay as hell. But this one really worked for me. It finally got me just how I wanted it to, and I am so happy about it. I ran out of storage while filming, so I'm gonna try to recapture what I said when I kept on thinking that I was filming and I was not. But the other thing I enjoyed about this book was its whole discussion about the revolutionary aspect of this story. I think it handled superbly how there's not so great things and really great things that happen in a revolution, and I didn't think like it was trying to say that these things were good or bad. It was just kind of trying to show you that these things happen because when people are struggling, when people feel like they're not being heard, they might make drastic decisions, they might do things that are not respectable or appropriate or any of these other words, and it's because it's just people really desperately trying to get help and trying to say, hey, if you do not help us, what else can we do to get you to listen to us, to get you to help us? And I thought that was amazing. So seeing Danny see both of these sides of this revolution and still deciding to be part of it, still deciding it was important, was fucking amazing. I loved it, and I can't wait to see how that develops and wraps up in the second book in this duology. I do have to say though that the reason I rated this 4 stars instead of 5 stars was because of 2 things. One of those things is that Danny's constantly described as having so many masks and being able to hide her emotions really well. But practically in almost every scene where she had to mask her emotions, she was always on the verge of falling apart and crying and being emotional and showing her emotions, and I was just like, either she's good at it or she's not, but don't try to say that she is while on the same breath saying that she's falling apart. I'm like, can we have consistency? Again, it's not a big issue, but it's definitely something that kind of annoyed me while I was reading. The second thing is Carmen's secret. I'm not gonna say what the secret is for the sake of spoilers, but it was stupid. Honestly, it didn't make sense why it was such a big deal that she was hiding what she was hiding, because like the way that Danny reacted to it, the way Carmen was treating the secret, you thought it was this huge thing, and then when you found out what it was, it just wasn't such a big deal. I don't understand why that was the secret that she was keeping and why it's seen as a bad thing. It was odd. But again, not big enough issues for me to feel like this deserved anything less than 4 stars. I still totally love this book. I'm still totally looking forward to reading the sequel, so I am so happy I picked this up, really. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. In the comments down below, please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if they're in your TBR. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will leave the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.